Now, also, I just want
This
to make
meeting is
sure,
being recorded.
Oh, wow. Okay.
like I am not working for MFT anymore. My contract ended. So as long as that's still okay,
Oh yeah.
then we're good.
No, that's no problem at all. So I'm gonna record on Zoom, and then I heard people had some problems with this, so I'm also gonna do a screen recording
Okay.
just for my own backup. Okay. So my first question is, where did you go to college and what did you study?
So I went to the University of Florida. I studied event management. I graduated in summer of 2019, and I went to the UF for 2 years in their event management program.
So you graduated in just 2 years in that program?
Well, I went to Santa Fe, the community college, for my first 2 years, and then transferred into UF into the event management program.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yep.
All right. So I know you just said that your contract ended. So my question originally was, what positions are you currently in and what are your tasks in those positions? But if you're only in one now, then you can just refer to that one.
Yeah, so I currently am a freelance event coordinator for NBC Sports for golf events. So I I traveled all the big PGA tours. So I did Waste Management Phoenix Open, the Players Championships. I just finished the Masters. Since it is just like a freelance kind of part-time leading up to the event, it's sending out ticket requests. A lot of the smaller golf events, they have electronic tickets. So we send out tickets via Ticketmaster and then kind of update the ticket grid, work on hotel reservations, catering for the bigger events. We have to work with the caterer, make sure everything is all set with that. For the Masters, it was a little bit more intense because we rented houses within like a neighborhood for our executives. Yeah, so it wasn't hotels, it was houses. So we had 5 houses. One was our hospitality house, which where all of our dinners were, our party was there. We had a few people that stayed there, but the other were just 4 different houses that our bigger executives stayed at. And then we had some people that stayed at a hotel as well. It's really weird because I didn't ever realize that happened, but a lot of people do that for the Masters. Like Delta rented 29 houses for the whole week. CAA rented 35 houses for the whole week. It's really crazy.
So how does that work? That are there just like neighborhoods that of houses that aren't being rented out specifically for this purpose?
Yeah, so Augusta, it's like a known thing that people rent their houses out for the week of the Masters, and they rent it out for like thousands of dollars. I think total we spent like a total of 90,000 like to rent 5 houses for the whole week. It just kind of depends on what the budget is. There's one house that we wanted to get, but they were trying to charge like $60,000 for a week. So these people rent their houses, and it pays for kind of their mortgage for the whole week. It's really crazy. And now that I've experienced it, I'm like, whoa! I never realized it's like a real thing.
Yeah, those people that own those houses are probably in such a smart financial position to do that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and then so throughout the whole week too, like we would be giving the tickets out. The one thing with tickets for the Masters is they're hard tickets. And if that ticket gets lost, there's nothing we can do. So we would give out tickets every morning to the people before they head to the course, before they get into our transportation, head to the course. And then we would go and restock all the houses with food, with snacks, whatever they needed. So it was a completely different experience than I have ever been a part of, because it was more like on that hospitality, kind of like an artist relations type thing, but for like executives for NBC.
Right. Cool. That's very interesting.
Yeah, it was really
Okay, so I didn't have this question written down, but I'm thinking of it right now and I wanted to ask, what was your position with MFT? That was a special events coordinator or something?
Yeah, so my overall position was special events like manager, but then when it came to the actual festivals, I was the access control director and the rooming director.
Okay. So what would you say is like some big differences between the work you were doing with MFT and the work you're doing now?
I think one big thing, and I think it's because MFT was, such a smaller community of
Mhm.
people, and working on a festival, it was a lot more hectic, and you kind of just had to pick up the jobs as they came, or something would be thrown at you in a second and you'd have to just like pick it up. Now the position I'm in, like, it's kind of laid out and I know what I'm going to be getting myself into. Like, there's still those random things that you have to take care of, but it's way more like calculated and laid out, rather than with a festival it's kind of thrown at you and you're go 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 from the time you wake up till the time you go to sleep. um I like both. I like the festival stuff, like it keeps you on your toes, you never know what's going to come to you. The people are way more interesting that you work with
Sure. Yeah,
within the
totally.
festival industry. Now I'm working with high level executives. um, so it's just two completely different worlds. I don't know. I can't say I like one more than the other yet. I still want to stay within the festival world and freelance because it keeps it interesting
Mhm.
and I will never get bored. But right now I do enjoy working with NBC and everyone that I work with.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, and I've said this to a couple people, that I feel like festivals is such a great thing to be doing at like a younger time in your life, like early 20s. But I think the older you get, I think a position like this that is a little bit more professional and laid out for you is probably something that, I mean, I would want to do after working in festivals for a few years. So that's really cool.
Well, yeah, and like I was in um this position where I always was like, I don't think I would want to go back and work for a corporation. Like, I don't see myself doing that. I like kind of being able to make my own schedule. And now I think, now that I'm working for NBC, it's only been a few months, but I think it's also, my boss is like very amazing. And I think that helps a lot, which now I'm like loving that I work for a big corporation. Even it doesn't feel like a corporate
Mhm.
like work environment. I think it's because I'm still technically a freelancer and it's golf events. So like when we're on site, it's not like we're in an office. But I think it just all depends on, who your boss is, who you're working for, because now I really enjoy where I'm working and it's great.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Okay, so my next question is, do you feel like your degree in event management and your education from UF is relevant and helpful to the work that you do now?
So, in a sense, I do. To be completely honest, I think within the event world, it's really like your work ethic and your experience,
Mhm.
because I didn't learn like anything that I'm really doing in school. I think my for UF it was a lot of like book work and not really like hands-on experience, which is what I think you need in the event industry.
Mhm.
You need to be able to get out there and do all of that, not just learn from a book, because it's not book work at all.
Totally. Okay.
um, I think my degree and saying that I went to UF has helped me, land different positions that I have gotten, but I don't think it's really helped me know how to work in these environments.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think if it's going to add anything, it for sure adds credibility. You know, people are going to look at you and look
Yeah.
at that degree and be like, well, at least on paper, she has this experience. So for sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then I did like a few internships throughout school too, which I think helped. Like every semester I was at UF, I had a different internship like
Mhm.
in Gainesville. So I think that helped a lot, and just showing my work ethic has really helped me land those other positions too.
Totally. Okay. So my next question is, tell me about your journey getting to this position that you have now, and what other jobs or companies or internships, like you just mentioned, did you work before that led you to this position?
Yes, so like throughout college, I was always super interested in the sporting industry with the events. So I worked for this place called Tailgate Guys. I don't know if you've heard of them. They've gotten bigger the past few years, but basically they rent out tailgates at football games. So at UF, they're really big. They have some at UCF. They started doing NFL games as well.
Oh, cool.
But basically, you buy these tailgate packages and you just show up to your tailgate and your tent's up, your TV's up, your catering's there. Like everything's just done for you, which is like really awesome. You don't have to do anything. So that kind of got me really liking the sporting industry.
Mhm.
And then after that, I did stuff with like the president at UF, where we put on some events. So those are a little bit more professional events. They were fun, but I was like, this is kind of boring. Maybe I don't really know what I want to do yet. Then my last internship before I could graduate college, I had to have an internship. So I moved up to New York and I worked with the New York City Wine and Food Festival. With that position, my boss went to UF and did the same degree I did. So I think that kind of helped me get the position. I loved it though. I worked there for 6 months. I was part of the sponsorship team. So I learned kind of contracts and how to talk to sponsors and activations, which was really cool. I was a sponsor manager for a few sponsors. So I helped them kind of get creative with their booth space and how they wanted to set it up and how to activate, how it would be most beneficial. And then on site during the festival, I was kind of like a production coordinator assistant. So I was helping all of the sponsors with their booths if they needed to get, their food refills, their beverage refills, their trash taken out, anything like that. 1 second, my maintenance is here.
Oh, that's okay.
I'm going to tell them to come back. Thank you. Anytime later. Thank you. I'm so sorry. I knew
No,
that was going to happen.
I'm sorry that this didn't time out very well.
No, it's fine. So yeah, with my internship, learn about sponsorships, production manager on site. And then I kind of took a break. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I then started with Marriott in their event manager, like they have a manager and training program. And so I started there. I lived in Atlanta for a few months. I was part of the event team. I was at a hotel that was like an airport property. So it was just conferences and meetings.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of boring to me. Just doing like setting up chairs, banquets, like it was just boring. That was at the beginning of 2020. So I was only doing them for 2 months. COVID hit. And then I moved back home to Florida. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. At that point knew hotels wasn't for me. I didn't want to be in that space. I wanted something more creative. And at that point too, that's when I was like, I don't think I want to work for a corporate. Like this is too much for me. It's boring. I don't want to do it. So obviously 2020 was very hard to find any type of job in events, like at all. So end of 2020 came around November. There was a position that I found on LinkedIn that was a virtual event coordinator. It was this startup that was starting out of Tampa, but they were doing, it was kind of like Zoom, but it was a little bit more interactive. It was a whole different platform. You could be creative with the whole background, with your seating, anything like color scheme wise. So I was working with them for a little bit just as a virtual event coordinator, helping build the room layouts, being the contact for any of our groups. Then December of 2021 came. I reached out on LinkedIn again. I've used LinkedIn a lot. I reached out to Darren and Brian both from MFT on LinkedIn. I knew they were out of Tampa. They did music festivals. I was interested in that, seeing if they had anything going on at all. Then Darren responded back and was like, hey, I actually need an assistant for a New Year's Eve event if you're like willing to help. I just volunteered for that event. I went down. It was like an hour and a half from me. I went down, assisted them throughout the whole day to set up, and then throughout the night as well. After that happened, I just kept like kind of in good contact with Darren and Brian. I was kind of interning-ish with Brian a little bit for the first few months of 2021. And then finally he brought me on to be the rooming director for Dirty Bird Campin' of 2021, the first year of Dirty Bird Campin'. I didn't know much about any like access control or anything like that. He just kind of like threw at me like, I need someone to do rooming and guest services. Like, I need you to do that. And I was like, okay, I will try. So it was kind of just thrown at me, and I learned what I could about rooming just by myself and like reaching out to the hotel people. Like, I wasn't really taught anything. Then after Campin' ended, he kept me on for home base throughout June 2021. That's when I started my next contract. June 2021 through that contract went through the end of January 2022. So worked all throughout home base with access control, guest services, rooming. I helped with marketing if it needed to be marketing, merchandise, kind of whatever needed to be done, even if it wasn't in my job description. It was just kind of thrown at me, and I did what I could do. January came of 2022. We extended my contract through Campin' so that I could finish that out and close everything out. So I started doing the guest services, access control, and rooming for Campin'. Another thing, like, I wasn't ever really taught how to do access control. It was kind of just like, hey, Bliss, you're going to be the access control director. Like, you saw what happened for camp in 2021. Like, you need to do that for home base now. So I was like, all right, I've never done this before. So I had, hired the staff, got the scheduling done, and then I created a budget, which I had never done before. I used like a template of the AR director, her budget for home base, and I just went off that and kind of did what I thought for budgeting wise. A huge learning experience since I had like never done it, wasn't taught it, just kind of taught myself. And then the end of 2021 is when I was kind of like thinking, I don't know if I want to be in the music industry anymore. It could have been, didn't love my role with MFT. But I just looked on LinkedIn all the time and finally saw this job with NBC. I applied to it. I also connected with my boss now. I connected with her on LinkedIn, messaged her. She told me that to send her my resume, and then it just kind of like went on from there. Had an interview with her, had an interview with other two people on the team, then got hired the end of December to start in January. And then it's just been kind of going ever since.
That's awesome. I like that you're saying that you use LinkedIn a lot, just not even applying to jobs, just like messaging people. That's seems really key to me. I don't do that. I don't know if I have the guts to do that.
No, I would highly suggest it, because when people ask me like how I got this job with NBC, I'm like, I found it on LinkedIn. They're like, no way you found it on LinkedIn. I was like, yeah, I did. Like, I would highly suggest using LinkedIn, like, however you can. I still use it to connect with people because I love the job I'm in now. I'm hoping it can turn into like a full-time job. But I also want to get into like fashion shows and award shows within the event production. So I'm using that now to like connect with anyone that I see that works in that industry or has a job that I want to have eventually, and just see if anyone could reach out to me and like would want to talk.
That's awesome.
I connected with this guy and we have emails now. I connected with him. He's worked with Coachella for like 10 years now. He's event production, wow. And we're going to try to like set up a call after Coachella's over. So yeah, I wouldn't put it past anything on LinkedIn. So you never know what type of connection you'll find or what job you'll find. It's definitely worth it.
Yeah, that's exciting. So this isn't a question I have, but it's just something that I'm thinking about now. Are you like done with music festivals, or is this like, are you ever going to go back with MFT, or are you looking to do something bigger than that now?
I could see myself doing music festivals again on like a contractual basis. Like, I would love to go back and work Dirty Bird Camp Out. I worked that last year. Would love to go work that. That was only a 3-month contract. So I would love to do that. Home base took a really like toll on my body last year. I just wasn't expecting what I was getting myself into, and I didn't love it.
Mhm.
So I don't know if I would go back and do that again this year. But I definitely do not like cross off music festivals. I would definitely work them again on like a freelancer contractual basis.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. All right. You kind of already answered this one. It was just like what your favorite and least favorite. I think you said what you liked about it, but what's your least favorite part about the job you're doing right now with NBC?
Um, my least favorite. I think I just honestly wish I had more stuff to do during the weeks like leading up to the event
Hmm.
because I am a freelancer and part-time. It's not a whole lot of things leading up to the event, and then during the week of the event is when I'm like really full-time. I've been working like 80 to 100 hours a week, but that's just during the events. So I wish I had more responsibilities leading up to, and I think that's just because um, I am new. I am part time. I think my boss will definitely give me more to do once she knows that I can handle it and
Mhm.
she's like realized it. But right now, I just feel like I don't always have enough to do and like what I'm capable of doing.
Makes sense. Okay, two more. All right. What is the skill that makes you so good at your work?
I think one of the best things and what some people aren't great at is just like being personable and having that customer experience and the customer service. That's a big thing within the event world, and like details to everything is if you aren't good with the people you're putting on an event for or putting on something for, like how are you going to make sure it's done correctly and make sure they're having a good time?
Right.
I always put myself in someone else's position and like that I would want to attend an event and I need to put on that event that I want to attend, not just what is given to me on paper, like make sure this happens. Like I want to make sure that I would really enjoy it so then I know other people will really enjoy it.
Right.
I
Totally.
think it's the same like there's something I always tell myself when I'm like taking pictures of someone. I want to take a picture of someone that I would want like taken of me.
Right.
So it's the same thing with an event. Like I want to make sure someone's having the best experience as possible and they have nothing to complain about. They only have positive things to say when they leave.
That's a really funny way of thinking about it, actually. But you're right. That makes a lot of sense. All right. My last question is, what advice would you give on things I can do as a college student to stand out against other competition?
I think one of your biggest things would be getting as much experience as possible. Like I think you've kind of already started with that. Like even reaching out to me, wanting to work camping and wanting to take on a little bit more extra work in your role. Just literally any opportunity you can get, even if it's like a day thing, anything to put on your resume to make you stand out with what you've done. Also, I've already said it, but literally LinkedIn, like
Mhm.
reach out to as many people. I know it's scary because I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to cold email anyone, but within this industry, it really is about who you know
Mhm.
and who knows someone else who can then get you like an interview or who you can talk to. So it really just reach out to as many people as possible. That's all I did to I wouldn't even say I'm anywhere big right now, but like where I want to be too, I just reach out to as many people as possible and you never know who you're going to connect with.
Yeah, definitely. I thank myself all the time for reaching out to you back in the day. That was like my first volunteer experience, and I feel like that was it just eased me into the industry so well, and it makes me feel so much better now knowing that I just started off as a volunteer and I can slowly start taking on more responsibilities. So that's great advice. Thank you.
I mean, the fact that you wanted to come back after home base, even though I know you guys didn't have much to do during home base, but it was crazy. If I volunteered for home base, I don't know if I would have wanted to come
Yeah,
back.
I liked it. I liked the ambiance of it. I thought it was a pretty encouraging environment and I thought it was cool. I wanted to get another taste of it. So I was happy to be able to do that.
Well, that's good. I'm glad
Well,
you came back. So it was very, very helpful.
all right. Well, that is all the questions I have. So thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording now.